start streaming. Nothing like starting a stream halfway through a word, but here we are. Oh, and you froze. There you go. Oh, great.
Am I frozen?
Not at the very moment,
Okay, cool.
but we're going to see how this works. We got 8 amazing topics this week.
Oh, yeah.
Starting with how to get a refund if you bought CyberPunk 2077. And if I think you should get a refund. And going by that, you shouldn't. Oppo and Nendo have a really cool phone coming out. A really cool phone is what I'm going to call it. There's this awesome new Facebook little program. It's called Facebook Collab. And it's a useful tool for musicians in this new pandemic world that we're having. And there's some neat features about it that I kind of wanted to talk through. We got Amazon with their subscription-based health tracker. So it's not quite Fitbit and it's not quite an Apple Watch. Polygon has a list of their top 50 games for 2020. This is Polygon in particular. And there was one sentence in this whole article of 50 games and its descriptions about them that I thought was hysterical.
Okay.
That's literally the only reason that one's in there. Google Search Trends of 2020, Family Friendly Edition.
Okay.
And then I see you got a couple in there.
Yep. SpaceX's SN8 launch and flight were a success, even though the landing wasn't quite perfect. And Google considers a hybrid work week post-pandemic when everything gets kind of back to normal.
Which I might actually be kind of for as a person who's not employed by Google.
Yeah, same here.
Right. I don't know what their hybrid work week looks like, but it can't be worse than what we got now. So I saw this article about 15 minutes ago, I guess, is the right timing, from Lifehacker.
Mm-hmm.
Flip it over here. And this is subscribe to our newsletter or not. How to get a refund for CyberPunk 2077. This was more of the idea of if you should get a refund if you buy a game and then the developer doesn't deliver on what they said they would give you.
Yep.
It seems like they're going to be giving away a lot of refunds. And that's unfortunate for Project Red at this point, or CD Project Red.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Steam definitely did it right with this one, with the 2-hour refund. But I, for one, will not be playing it. I never plan to, though, so there's that one.
Yeah. Me neither. I think it's nice that the developers offering a refund, though, because I've heard a lot of complaints about it not being what people expected it would be. Yep. So
that's pretty
the
much,
developers could have gotten a really bad name if they hadn't offered that refund.
Right. That's pretty much all I've heard one person say something good about this game. Otherwise, every person has talked bad about it. And then that's on top of it being delayed at least once that I know of. I think it might have been twice, though.
Yeah.
So it was already being delayed and then under-delivered.
Yeah. And
that's why you shouldn't prepay for software before it shows up. And then, if you'll start a second topic, I'm going to check my audio real fast and see how the video actually looks on YouTube this week.
Okay.
Because we made that mistake last week.
Yeah, the audio last week was pretty rough. And actually, the video was pretty rough, too. There were a lot of stuttering frames.
Fun fact, I can't, so you have to. Thank you, voice meter.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
Yep. So, I guess I can do that while you check it real fast. So, voice meter has this great thing with Windows 10. This is a whole other side topic. If you go to youtube.com, we're going to see whatever's trending on YouTube. So be prepared, audience. Making a squirrel laugh. This has to be safe enough. I get this wonderful It works on the Brave browser, but not on Chrome browser. That's embarrassing. I bet I could pull this up on my Chrome browser, though. Let me open it up in Chrome. Oh, it's just my video. Nope, there it goes. Perfect. That's what it looks like in Chrome. Every time I try to play video with voice meter launched. It almost starts, and then it crashes. And it's a huge ordeal, which is why he has to check our audio. But
Yeah, the audio seems to be pretty good.
Pretty darn good. And that's coming from a computer that's running at 91% usage. So we're just making it. So I had this article here. It really caught me off guard because I thought there was an extra set of parentheses. Or not parentheses. When you cut off the letter of a word to make it easier to say. I thought it was Oppo and Nintendo. Not Oppo and Nendo. So that's what really caught me on this article, and I started reading it and realized that it wasn't Nintendo. It was actually another company called Nendo. They're calling this their slide phone concept. It unfolds into 3 screen sizes, which is like super weird, but I think it has a neat idea, specifically on why it does. I don't think it's as much 3 screen sizes as it is 2 screen sizes in which way your camera faces. So if we scroll down in here, they give you this image here, which we're going to zoom way in on like that. So it starts off about the size of a key fob, and I think there's an image later on down there that shows you with it in a hand. That's closer to like the size of like your thumb, and then it will start to unfold, and so you get like this really small screen here, and then you can unfold it again to this little bit more elongated phone screen, what you would expect a phone to have, with its camera up on top, and then you can unfold it all the way into like the super ultra mega widescreen phone if you tilt it sideways. One of the cool things about this is I believe that there's only this one camera module. So when it's all the way folded up, you have this one camera module on the third block, and then you can put it in the center block or the top block. And I think it's a cool way to have just like one, brick of camera lenses.
Yeah. It makes it require less hardware, so the phone can be smaller, lighter, cheaper, and also your selfie camera will be as good as your front-facing camera, whereas with most smartphones, this camera is nice. This camera is not as nice in most cases.
Yep.
So that is pretty cool.
And then down just a little bit. There it is in someone's hand. So it is definitely much thinner, as if... turn off my screen. Because when I have my phone on my screen, it definitely takes up... Well, I also have smaller man hands. More from the side to side. So it's definitely a much more narrow phone.
Yeah. And it doesn't look terribly thick either from the picture.
And if I mute this, we probably jump through and have it in someone's hand while they're moving it. Maybe? Nope. Okay. The video is just the phone unfolding itself.
Just like concepts and everything. Cool.
But I definitely like the idea of it. I think this is more of like
something new.
That modular phone idea that never came to fruition.
Yeah, phone blocks.
Right. Yeah, that was it. But I do like the idea of only having one block of cameras. I think that is definitely the future way to go.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will eventually get back down to like one camera. It would be great, right? Just one camera that can like do it all. Speaking of one camera that can do it all.
Musicians.
This one has me really kind of excited, and then I started reading the article and it's like, oh. So it's from the best news article source for our show, TheVerge.com. Facebook launch. Yeah, right. Of course. There's only been like 2 whole episodes in the year and a half we've done this where Verge was not in it. I think one of those is the week that we took off. So Facebook launches its Collab music app to the public. That is a super weird way to call it. It's called Collab, like collab. But it's a music app, and the idea is that it says it right here: make music together. Right now, it looks like it's only on the Apple App Store because there's no Android icon. So I assume it's only for iPhones. The interesting part about this is that it feels like they were originally going to target the not nice way of saying real musicians. Like, the idea, I think, was to like get musicians to work together more easily.
Okay.
So they start here. The app allows users to create short form music videos by combining up to 3 independent videos. And so I guess the idea there is that you have like 3 different people. So it'd be like me, you, and somebody else would all make our own, like, our part of the vocal, or like the vocal, the guitar, and the drums or something. Mm-hmm. And then this app would auto sync the 3 so that when you play it, everything played in time, which is one of the hardest things for apparently a lot of people, I guess. And that's what it pretty much looks like this app is made to do.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of just like, that's it. This is just like...
This could be nice for people who are kind of looking to break into music maybe and don't have a lot of friends who play music, or in these times when you may not be able to go and play with friends. Playing music over video stream like we're talking right now is impossible, because you can even notice just with us chatting,
right,
there's some decent between when he says something and then I hear it and then I respond to it. So sometimes it may sound like I'm just interrupting him, but it's just because he paused and then I said something, and while there was that delay, he continued on another sentence. So
right,
like, yeah, and this is just having a conversation. This isn't playing music where the timing is super, super, super important.
Right.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and so I did think it was kind of cool, especially for the more non-musically abled. I don't know the nice word for it. The people who are just not really good at music. Yeah. Because I think once you get to a certain point of being a musician, arbitrary term, you would just have everyone take a video of themselves playing their part, and then they would all send it to the one guy, and the one guy would have it in professional software and, slap all the tracks together and export it. Even like me or you as a lighter audio guy, we could definitely do that. That's not rocket science to line up audio tracks.
No. yeah, do a few claps to sync everything up. But it seems like this is just supposed to make it super easy. There was an app recently, I never used it, but I definitely remember seeing YouTube ads about it, where you'd have a person singing on one side and then someone else to be singing, like maybe you might have the male part, someone singing the male part, someone singing the female part, or whatever it is, and it'd be clipped together, so one person's on one screen, the other person's on the other screen. Just kind of an easy way to do from inside a mobile phone app. So I feel like that's kind of what they're aiming for here, is just easy to make and combine lots of different content. Whereas you're definitely right, you can each record videos and submit it to one person and they can add it on a PC or something, but that can be hard to do on a phone. So
yeah,
it seems this app is kind of aiming at that easy, like low entry level in terms of skills and everything market. So,
and I think that's what really made me so disappointed, was that this was, I went into hearing Facebook music app and I was thinking something, the best of the best, like Facebook Messenger pretty much outperforms all messaging services. Yeah. And then they're like, and you start reading, you're like, oh, this is basically lowering the barrier of entry for music creation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of disappointing for people who have passed the barrier of entry. Not tooting my own horn, but I guess it's cool to more content on the internet. Yay!
Yeah.
Right.
True that.
As excited as you can get. There's already too much. All you should be watching is us. Speaking of all that you should be watching is us, Amazon breaking into a new market. The question is, can they be as good as the Apple Watch? As a guy who does not like Apple, Apple Watch is pretty good so far.
Yeah.
So this is over on TechCrunch, arguably one of the worst news sites for their web design. Because if you just click on something like the article header, it takes you to their homepage. How wild is that? I also learned on TechCrunch websites, if you scroll all the way down, this little X starts completing, and then it just takes you to the next article and your link changes. That is like the wildest design. I can't stand it. But this topic is about Amazon's body scanning Halo fitness band. What a mouthful. Is now available for everyone in the US that has $100 and can pay a monthly subscription. So when I first read body scanning Halo fitness band, I thought like a hula hoop.
Okay, yep, I can see that. Like for a full body scan or something.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a body scanning Halo fitness band. Turns out this picture is not just arbitrary. That is the band.
Okay.
So before even going into the article, I do like the fact that the band is so minimal that it doesn't have a screen or almost really anything. So it's very non-intrusive to the point that you could be sitting down for lunch and you don't have to worry about the person across from you playing with their watch, which is the weirdest thing to say, I guess. But so this band apparently can do everything from tracking how much you move to tracking how much fat your body has. Or so Amazon is claiming currently. Gotta wait for real reviews, I believe. So this band runs at $100, and that includes a 6-month membership. Okay. I don't know how much the monthly membership is. I don't imagine it can be that much. But it was definitely surprising that they only include 6 months of a membership with $100. So, I mean, you can almost assume that the band is free. I would assume, at least. And if you do 100 divided by 6 for your 6 months, that's not the divided sign. Neither is that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good price for a fitness band like that compared to, what's that company that was it Google just bought?
Fitbit.
Fitbit, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that is. It's right at $16.50 a month. Okay. If you assume that the band was free from Amazon. But yeah,
and then,
okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
I wonder how accurate this body fat scanning thing will be, because the whole BMI calculations and all that aren't very accurate from what I've seen unless you use certain methods, which usually you need to go to a doctor's office to actually have your full body scan for like body fat and stuff. So
right. So I had a little bit of the same thought. I was like, you can't really measure from the wrist, just like your overall body fat, because I tried before, and then there's even the websites that have like, measure your forearm, measure whatever that triceps, biceps, quad, and that you put in like 27 measurements or something, and it's like, put in your height, put in your weight, and then you put all this stuff in, and then they give you a rough estimate. But then it seems like you do need actual, equipment to measure the majority of this.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it, and there's a lot of different measurements too. Like body mass index is where you take your height and somehow take your height and weight and determine what your BMI is. But depending on your muscularity, like muscle is heavier than fat, so if you're extra muscular, it might say your BMI is high when really your body fat is low. So, and there's a few ways that people can test that. I've seen stuff where like they pinch your skin, and depending on how quickly it pops back into place or something, that can determine or help determine your body fat. But really, to get it done right, you have to get a full body scan and either calculate the total volume of your body, mathed somehow to your weight or your mass, like your mass and your volume, or so I'm not so sure how accurate that will be, but certainly for stuff like heart rate and maybe your calories burned, that can be somewhat accurate.
Yeah, I was about to say,
just like all the other fitness trackers,
right.
So
like even my phone has that little sensor thingy on there, so like you can put it over and it'll tell you what your blood oxygen level is on your finger. It's like as handy as that can possibly be. I've never once, I guess I could have tried it yesterday. I'm like, that would have been great.
Yeah.
One of the things I would have been interested in, and it's in no type of health tracker at all, especially the wrists, would be one with a barcode scanner. And so when you go to make food or you go to order something, you can almost push a button and say, I'm ordering the number 7 at Wendy's medium, and it will auto add that to what you ate. Or you can hit like a scan button and it would automatically scan. So you can scan and it will just put in like 1 serving by default. And so you're like, oh, I'm going to eat this for lunch. You scan it. It puts it in your, your calorie tracker. And that's all the counting you have to do. Because then you can go back and look like, this is how the day went. That would make calorie counting for the people who like that super easy. Because currently,
I wonder if there's a smartphone app out there like that.
So, there kind of is, but in order to do it, you have to take your phone, unlock it. You have to open up, and in my case, it's just MyFitnessPal. And once the app loads, I hit the plus, you hit food, you hit what meal. So it says breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. So like for this sake, we can do dinner. And then you get the scan button. And then you can scan the bottle that you have in front of you. And then it tells you that your bottle of water has 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 fat, and 0 protein. In this case,
all that for a bottle of water.
Right. Yeah, and like in this case, it's a bottle of water. But see how long that took? If you could have your watch and you could just hit like the scan, like, it's a fitness tracker. What else does it need to do but track your health?
Yeah.
That'd be great. That would almost be worth spending $100 on. Because I have tried that calorie counting multiple times at this point in my life. Every time. If it takes 20 seconds, to scan the chicken nuggets before you can eat them, I'm not going to scan the chicken nuggets before I eat them. There's no way. It's not happening. Speaking of things that are not happening, me being able to monitor if this stream is actually working. But it is brought, if it works, by nephewtech.com. And the other guy over here that's actually checking to see if it works, jmartmedia.com. If it does work, I did a little bit of changing. I changed out one of my yellow bulbs for a white bulb. And that's why I got like this side of my face is a little bit whiter now. But then this side's still pretty yellow. I was seeing how that looked. Yeah. And so then next week I'll put this other white bulb in and have 2 white bulbs in front of me and see what skin color I like most. Super yellow, this weird 50-50 lighting mix thing, or just 2 whites. We're slowly changing how it looks. How's that 144p webcam treating you?
Perfect.
It's perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, and audio seems to be working fine, so
Sweet.
let's hope it stays that way.
As good as it gets, right?
Speaking of as good as it gets, the 50 best games of 2020. From
So
big to small, we rank them all from Polygon.com.
yeah, right? If we really want to stretch this show out over a whole hour, we could read through all 50 of these games. But let me tell you,
Pick out the sentence. Yeah, pick out the sentence that you thought you thought was interesting. That was this article, right?
Yeah, that was this one.
And then also, how many of these games do you think you've played, or have you read over all of them in the list?
I mean, so I found a different article that referenced one of the games in this article, and then
Gotcha.
So I just got rid of that article and went straight to the source. Good guy reporter over here, right?
How many of these games do you think you've played this year?
Oh, out of all these games, let's see, 50
Yep.
games that came out this year.
Because I think I've probably played 1, 2. I think there's 2 that one that I've definitely played, one that I've probably played. Well, I say one that I've definitely played, but it's probably on the list. And then a third, I'm going to go with 4 just to give myself some room, but
Okay, I think I've played 2.
really the games.
Right? Yeah, I think I've only played 2 on this list, but I know I've played one of them because that's why I got this article up here.
Okay, I'm going to bump that up to 5, actually. And I'm going to go ahead and say, actually, I'm going to bump that up to 6. I'm going to say that one of them...
6 out of 50?
I'm bumping it up to 6. 6 out of 50. Well, you said 2, so, can't really talk there. I'm going to say I've definitely played Among Us, and looking at the title, image,
Right.
it's going to be up there because it's been a very popular game
Yeah.
this year. The second game I was thinking of was Phasmophobia, which is a game that we've been playing recently. I'm not sure if that's going to be on the list.
I'm not sure.
Third game is I'm thinking maybe like Minecraft or just some random game that I've played. Fourth game is going to be Microsoft Flight Sim. Fifth game is Apex Legends, maybe. And then the sixth game is, I'm just hoping.
You're hoping there's a 6th one? All right. And then you roboted out, but I heard you enough that I knew the one that you roboted out on was Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020.
Yeah.
All right. Which is ironically the game that made me pick this article, which is number 3.
Okay.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. And so the headline of whatever this article was on some other random website was only one company could make Microsoft Flight Simulator. And then they had stolen it from right here. What one company do you know of that can make Microsoft Flight Simulator?
I'm going to guess a company named Microsoft.
Right. I saw that. I was like, that's funny. And that's why we got this article in our doc. That's how this show is made now. And so we're gonna go to the top, right? Not as funny when I say it out loud.
We don't have to read over all of them.
But I'll scroll down to the list.
I'm
that way.
Now.
All right. So
I'm at number 10 right now.
Wow, you are scrolling down fast.
Yeah. Well, I've never heard of most of these games.
Okay.
I've definitely never played any of them.
Right. So Bug Snacks, never heard of. No Man's Sky, I did not play because I heard it was terrible.
Yep.
Like Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, it was terrible when it came out a few years ago, at least.
Right. No. I've heard of Mario Kart Live, but after Mario Kart Double Dash, I've never played any of the other Mario Karts that I know of. I mean, I might have played the one for the Wii once, or not the Wii, the Wii U or whatever it was sometime.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But Mario Kart Double Dash was the last good Mario Kart that I've ever touched that I can say I liked.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh no. I know a lot of people that play League of Legends. Not I.
Yeah.
Oh man, I might actually only have one on here. I'm getting worried.
Let me know when you get to Among Us.
I'm at 23, 22, 21. There's not going to be any. Oh, there we go. Jackbox Party Pack 7. I've played that. I'm at my 2. I did it. Now I got to get through the next 7. All right, so there's 19 more, but I've already done one of those 19. I got to get through the other 18 without playing them. So far, so good. So far, so good. So far, so we're at 13, 12, 11. I played Spelunky too, so I'm up to 3.
Okay. Number 10, Among Us. That's the first game on this list that I've played.
No way.
And I knew that one would be on the list.
Right.
The image. Yeah, I played it one time.
I've yet to play it, and I refuse to watch videos on it because it's popular. It's refusing to be part of the gaming community.
Then we got Blaseball, Crusader Kings 3, Half-Life Altix.
Alex. It's just like an Alex, the name.
Spider-Man, Miles Morales, something. Kentucky Route Zero, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Microsoft Flight Sim number 3. All right, I've played that, so I'm up to 2. Animal Crossing New Horizons. Have you played that, or just listened to the music in the background?
I've listened to the music with the Chrome extension for about 1 day.
Okay.
And then one of my good friends plays it a lot. But so I've picked up the controller and screwed around, but I haven't actually like sat down to play.
Yeah,
it's more like walk around
gotcha.
to destroy the world.
Okay.
And then Hades. So
I've played 2 of them.
3.
Wow. I overestimated the popularity of some of the games I've played.
Right. The fact that some of those games aren't on there was astounding. The one that really got me though was that the Minecraft updates weren't on there. Because it seems like every time Minecraft releases
the Nether update,
right, the big updates, you're like, a lot of people start playing again because it does change the fundamentals of a game. But I guess so it's not a big enough update. Microsoft. Yeah. Only Microsoft can make Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just try it. They'll sue. So I saw this, and I was actually a little surprised on the Google trending results until I remembered that it was 2020. I was like, of course people would Google that.
Yep.
So I got it up here. So these are your year in search 2020 from Google Trends, and these are global. And so I was mostly interested in the searches because people search for like all different types of things. But so under global searches, it'll show us the top 10. Pretty expected stuff. Some of this is definitely not American. IPL and India versus New Zealand are both not US as far as I know. So I had switched it over from global to US. That way I actually knew what all these things meant.
Okay.
There we go. And they're all pretty expected. Election results, the virus, Kobe, virus, Zoom. Zoom was a little bit of a surprise, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple other ones. We know which one is the more popular console now, as PlayStation 5 takes number 10 spot on most searched things for 2020. And then the games that people searched the most for in 2020. Among Us and Fall Guys, of course.
Yep.
The biggest games of the summer and fall.
And also, funnily enough, some of like the simplest, like the games with the simplest idea,
Yeah,
like,
right.
these aren't super complex games. These are just pretty straightforward party games.
Yeah. The one that really got me though was on
right at the top.
That Jackbox is on here, because that is a party game that you really have to play with a group of people, and it is on this list. Way to go, 2020. Right? the year of shutdowns was the year of small parties. Most Jackbox games are small party games between 2 to 8 players. So I mean, you could get away with having the one other family, two other families that you quarantine with, but really they're party games.
Do you have to be in person to play them, or because Among Us and Fall Guys, I would classify those as party games too. Maybe Fall Guys is a different game than the one I'm thinking of, but
yeah. Fall Guys, you definitely is just like Among Us, pretty much. How you play it. So
you're
Jack
like throwing people off and stuff, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Jackbox, you either have to be in the same room or you have to be sharing the screen.
Gotcha.
Because you need to see what other. It's kind of like charades almost. It's like you can play it apart, but you just have to have like a Zoom call. Funny enough, a Zoom call going on.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, like me and you can play it now because I'm sharing my screen. But it's not really made for that.
Gotcha.
And I just thought it was interesting on some of these because I was not expecting Zoom or PlayStation 5 for sure.
And that brings us to our final two articles. There was a SpaceX launch a few days. Was it Wednesday or something? They had a few time slots selected to launch it from, and then it got pushed back twice. But finally, one day last week, the SN8, which is Starship 8 or something like that. I don't know. It's the 8th iteration, though, of the Starship, launched, and it went up to 40,000 feet. This is the big ship that SpaceX is working on. And when it got up there, it kind of let off its propulsion, fell back down to the Earth, and then tried out something new. It kind of belly flopped, as a skydiver does, to reduce their speed, as a way to reduce the amount of fuel it takes to land. So it kind of belly flopped down, and then kind of at the last second, righted itself and activated its propulsion to softly land on the landing pad. Unfortunately, it didn't soften its landing enough, so it kind of exploded upon landing. But other than that, it was a completely successful mission. So SpaceX was able to test their new method of landing, conserve fuel, and
so
that testing was successful.
Yeah. They could have just put a parachute on it to help slow it down.
Yes, I think that this ship might be a little bit too heavy to work with a parachute and be traveling too fast that it would get shredded up pretty quickly. But I think they probably
thought of that, right?
Yeah. That's why they're testing out this new method to see if it is actually feasible.
Yep. So there it is, belly flopping to help slow its descent.
It's pretty crazy to watch. It's really crazy to watch that massive thing like go from the belly flop to riding itself up vertically.
Belly flop to vertical, and then you see how the flames are shooting back and forth, trying to correct itself. And that flame color change right there at the end is a little worrisome.
It is. I think they had some engine issues with the rockets that they were using. I think that's why the landing failed, why it hit the landing pad too hard, was because they had an engine or maybe even two engines down, so it didn't have enough force to slow itself.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But yeah, like he said, the parachutes is an option that has been used for some of the older rockets, like when the U.S. was first going to the moon and coming back.
And
the astronauts would be in a capsule that would land via parachute in the ocean, and then there was the space shuttle, which landed as a plane does on a runway, and then now SpaceX is trying to get like 100% reusability, so their booster rockets are coming back and landing upright, as opposed to being discarded in the ocean, which I think a lot of the older rockets, just the boosters would either go up into some kind of orbit that would be out of the way and just stay in space forever, or crash back into the ocean, or maybe even burn up upon re-entry. but SpaceX so that the price of these rockets goes big time down.
Okay, yeah, get as low as
So
it
they're
can
trying
get
out
them.
new stuff, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that a little bit interests me is that instead of burning more fuel trying to like restabilize to like soften the land, would be to see if they could create like a stronger side of the rocket and just let it land like, for now in the ocean, but then have landing pools. So like they land the rocket into a pool. That way you're not wasting all this extra fuel and everything. And then they can just, it'll come back up, and then they just have like the cranes like you have on cargo ships that move the giant shipping containers. You just have giant cranes that just move the ship from the landing zone to the takeoff zone, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so like it's landing in a specific area that it can be easily recovered, as opposed to in ocean where,
Right.
it's obviously
Yeah.
the ocean's a pretty big place and pretty deep, so it's difficult to recover.
Yeah, and then like
Yeah.
yesterday, day 4 today, I don't remember anymore. But we were talking about the idea of wasting energy, and like it takes energy to slow down a rocket, but if water's already there to slow the rocket down, maybe the parachute idea is not so terrible, and you slow down enough that the person doesn't die on impact when the rocket comes down.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that would depend on the speed of the rocket, because if it hits the water at a certain speed,
Right.
it's going to be a very violent landing. And also, I bet you that the water getting inside the engines and everything
It's just
may
as big of a
affect
waste.
and make it harder to clean
Right.
up and get it ready to be relaunched. Or maybe the rockets are super high, and so hitting water would
Oh, see, I didn't
cause
think of something like that.
super cooling stress fractures
Yeah.
or something. But a point that you bring up is really interesting. So the whole idea behind minimizing the amount of fuel needed to land is because they want to be able to launch the rocket as light as possible, because the more fuel you include in the rocket at launch, the heavier it's going to be, so you're going to need more energy to launch, and
Right.
it just kind of spirals out of control. But if
You don't need as
you
much
can
to
have
land.
some other force on the Earth that has that energy to land the rocket,
Right.
maybe then there would need to be less energy, stored on the rocket.
Yeah. So like instead of even trying to like land it on a flat plane, you can almost build this is a terrible example, like a runway on a mountainside, and so it can touch, and then you can have a
Slow it
friction
down gradually.
Like, yeah. Almost like a water slide down the hill.
Yeah.
But a million different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems super wasteful to have to carry that fuel on your rocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's almost like instead of having brakes to brake your car, you have a second engine that tries to spin the wheels the other way when you brake. So you have like your forward engine, and then you have like your braking engine that just tries to slow down your wheels rather than just squeezing. Like, I mean, you can't squeeze the rocket.
Well,
against
some
the air.
electric cars do have something like that.
They do actually.
It's used to increase fuel efficiency.
Yeah.
So you have your engines that power you forward, but you can either use your brakes, which I guess produces heat and wears down your brake pads and all that stuff.
Right.
But some of these electric cars nowadays have some kind of like resistance engine, so where you engage the engine on the wheels, and as your wheels are still spinning, it actually acts like a turbine or whatever it's called, and creates more energy and actually repowers the battery in the car. It's pretty interesting.
It's super neat. Speaking of things that are super neat.
Yes.
I didn't.
Companies are starting. Go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say I didn't look into this, but I'm really hoping it's the 4-day work week.
Close. But you kind of overshot it, but also undershot it.
Okay.
So companies are now starting to look into eventually moving staff back into offices in the somewhat near future. It's all kind of, up in the air still now. But Google issued for a hybrid work week where they're shooting for 3 days in the office and 2 days from home. So it's not necessarily a work week, but it's 3 days in the office.
Better, right?
Well,
Oh,
you're still working
3
5
days.
a week.
Okay. I think it said 2 days in the office,
Yeah.
2 days at home. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
It would be even better if they did like home, office, office, home.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's pretty great.
I bet you they'll be flexible with that. I know the company I used to work for, we did 4 days in the office and then a day of your choice from home, unless something else was
Yeah,
like
you had to be in the
circumstances.
office.
Like, yeah, say there was an office meeting or people
Right.
coming in from a different office or whatever. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how companies do it going forward, because a lot of companies are saying that, hey, this work from home thing actually is working pretty nice. So for some people, it's going to be permanent. But
right. Because I guess it is one of those trade-offs where you can't watch your employees as hard, so you don't know what the efficiency of the employee is. But then there's other metrics you can measure a human by than the amount of time they look at their screen and sit in their chair.
For example, are we getting all of our projects finished on time and that kind of thing?
Right. And then
but I really like this. Go ahead.
I was about to change the topic if you got some on this.
I really like the whole hybrid work week, because as a software developer, at least, it gives you time that you can be in the office and talk to your coworkers, because there are some things that are easier to communicate when you're in person. You can easily draw on a whiteboard. Sure, there's apps like Zoom has a feature where you can do annotations and draw and stuff, but sometimes it's easier to look someone, kind of demonstrate with your arms and draw on a whiteboard an idea. But at the same time, it's nice to be able to work home, because you can have your time to actually concentrate and you don't have to worry about people interrupting you. You can actually just focus on your work, get it done. So it's nice to have that kind of a little bit of each, that hybrid environment where you can focus, but you can also collaborate when you need to throughout the week. So I really like it.
I definitely think it is easier to get ideas across in person. Even like on this video call, I don't know if it ever happens to you, but like your voice robot's a lot for me, and that makes it like I have to do a little bit of extra brain processing just to get, that when you say micro flight, I know you're talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And it's nice to have that free brain space when we're in person, and then being able to be like, oh, pen and paper, and start drawing an idea, and you're able to just take that pen and paper and like scribble on top. It makes it a lot easier than me like, let me open Paint real fat, and then know, twiddle my thumbs for a minute trying to figure out how to open up Microsoft Paint in Windows 10. But then, a lot of it isn't idea sharing, and I guess a lot of people's jobs aren't that way, where human interaction is, super top priority, and working from home.
It's definitely a high priority, like for software development, but there's also times where it's not important. You know what I mean?
Everything has its own little grind to it that you just have to like sit there. I know that feeling. It would definitely be cool. Can't wait to see what Google does with it.
Well,
I think
were you about to change the topic to something else? Or?
That's actually it on that list.
All right.
I can't believe we finished everything. I need to talk slower.
I think that was the perfect time.
The perfect time. 49 minutes, 16 seconds. And I guess on that note, we talked about...
Oh, wait. One more thing. We talked about all the things this week. Next week, if you're free in the afternoon, we might be having a stream. We're building some RC airplanes, so feel free to tune in there, or at least check the channels to see if we're live.
Yeah, I might not be doing it on this channel, but yeah, you'll find my channels.
Okay. Cool.
Sweet.
We'll talk about it next week.
There we go. We're going to talk about all the things.